Welcome back to our series, The Delegation Shift, Let Go to Level Up. This series is focused on providing the tools for growth-minded leaders ready to move beyond the weeds and into their next level.
That's right. Today, we are breaking down one of the biggest misconceptions about delegation, that you should just delegate everything that is living on your to-do list.
Yeah, please don't do that. Today's episode is called Delegate This, Not That, and we're showing you how to delegate strategically without disconnecting from your business, because there are tasks that only you can do and should only be done by you.
That's right. So obviously, we know that that is a misconception to delegate everything that's on your plate. But let's start by talking about the major truth here is that delegation is power. But it's not just dumping everything that you have on your to-do list to someone else and walking away. There's much more that goes into it. And by doing that, it could actually lead to more issues than it does help any situation.
Exactly. So over delegating, especially if it's the wrong things, can actually pull you away from your team. You might lose sight of your brand, your leadership role in general. So it really is crucial that you delegate the right tasks to the right person. So something that I pay a lot of attention to is who is the right fit for the job. So making sure that even once you have your team established, whether it is 3 or 30 of them, really paying attention and getting to know where the strengths and interests of your team are. So, for example, you wouldn't want to delegate your social media to someone who has no interest or any kind of basic understanding about it.
Right.
It just wouldn't go well. You wouldn't be setting them up for success. So sure, people can learn certain skills, but there is an importance. We talked about it in the last episode when we talked about it's important for you to hire people who are in alignment with your business. It's also really important to give people a job and responsibilities that are in alignment with their passions and interests. So I think that it just is important to keep that in mind when you're delegating as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And to stick with the social media theme, certain things do need to stick with you. Your voice, your presence, your judgment. You don't want to you don't want somebody else creating content that is not necessarily in your voice or is something completely opposite of what you actually would have created, because this is you talking, right? It's your business. It's you showing up on social media, whether that is Instagram or LinkedIn or TikTok or Facebook, wherever you are posting any of your content. It needs to be your voice. So you need to still have some say in that. And you want to make sure that you are a part of it. And this is the same thing for financial decisions. It's the same thing for email responses, communications with your clients and your customers. That still needs to have you be a part of it.
Absolutely. I mean, could you imagine delegating? Let's say I really wanted to get everything off my plate, and something that was bogging me down was client communication or client sales calls or client consulting calls. If people are expecting me to be there, I have to be there. It sure would backfire if I delegated that to someone else. Now, are there pieces of it to help to delegate that would help me just have to show up to the call? That would help me be able to be more strategic in the call because I wasn't so busy doing these other things in preparation? Sure. So there are definitely pieces that can help you show up in the places that have to be you better, but you just can't delegate all of it.
Right. Absolutely. Um, I think like a quick takeaway is delegation is strategic, right? You need to be strategic about what you are delegating when you are delegating. It's not an all or nothing gig. It is a very strategic plan that you have, and you have to optimize who is doing what and when they're doing it so that you don't lose your voice. You don't lose your brand voice. You don't lose clients or customers. Like you were saying, if I showed up to an operation strategy call with Ashley Carlson as Nichole, they'd be like, "Hi, what? Where's Ashley?" And I'd be like, "Oh, she doesn't come to this call anymore. It's me." You get me? I'm the one you're with today. That would completely be like, "Oh, well, that's not what I was expecting." And then your client, that relationship could suffer because it's not you, and that's something that you need to be at.
Absolutely. So I think that what people need to realize is that certain things do have to stay on your plate. So let's talk a little bit about what should stay on your plate. I like to think about your zone of genius, the things that you and you alone are really good at. I think what what often people lose sight of as a business owner who started a business with this certain idea, and the idea comes from a passion, a skill, a thing, a spark that only you have when you first started this business. Now, when you grow your team and the company is scaling, again, you're pulled in 1,000 different directions. And sometimes our time, we lose sight of that thing, that zone of genius that
Mm-hmm.
first started this. And so I think just getting back to the core of that, what are you really, really good at? And that typically is that very first thing that you started the business with. Or, for example, for me, I love talking with our clients about the gaps and things that they are experiencing because I know I'm good at solving them. And I know that if I could do that all day, I would. It excites me as well. So that is one thing that I know if I were to try to make more time for, it would be that. So I think
Right.
just really trying to think about what sparks joy, what am I really good at, what makes the most impact in this business that I'm building.
You and client calls where you guys are talking strategy and finding the gaps and figuring out how to make things better. Like we hear testimonials all the time from clients. Like that is your bread and butter. That is what you're good at and you know it. And so I wish that I could give you more time on your calendar to do that because I know you love it so much. But there's also other zones of genius that CEOs have and business leaders and business owners have on a regular basis. And those are going to be, I know last episode we talked about low risk tasks. Now you're going to shift over to high level strategy. So you're talking about relationship building, creative visions. Where do you want your business to go in 5 years? Where do you want it to be in 10 years? You can't delegate that to somebody else because that's a decision you have to make. Also, big financial decisions. That's something that comes from you. Just general decision making. That's going to come from a business leader or the business owner or the CEO. These are the things that keep the needle moving forward in a business. Can you have somebody help you support with that? Absolutely. But you need to be the final decision maker on anything that falls into that high level strategy realm.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I know for a while I definitely, I mean, on and off again, I think that I get in the trap of getting my hands in too many things. And that I know is because I'm excited and interested and I want to know or help or whatever it might be. And I start to realize that when I do lose the time to have that strategic thinking for the business, it it really it suffers in other ways, right? And so I have to be very cognizant of protecting that time where I can make decisions, I can look at things strategically, numbers in order to make those decisions. So there has to
Mm-hmm.
be dedicated time to do that. And I also feel like as a business owner, for the most part, you also have to have enough time for business development, whatever that looks like. That tends to definitely land in the realm of the business owner. Again, yes, you can have people helping you on the back end of business development, but ultimately the face that has to be there is yours. So I think just realizing that, yes, there are different things that you can delegate that you maybe don't want to do. There
Mm-hmm.
definitely needs to be a lot of intention and strategy into the things that just have to be done by you and really identifying, okay, what could make it feel a little bit lighter if you need to.
Yeah. Now you have hired to support your ops team here at Elevate. Talk about some of the things that you first delegated off of your plate as a CEO to your ops hire at Elevate.
Sure. So actually, I'm going to flip that a little bit because my first hire, actually, as far as when I think of something that I really didn't want to do anymore, was marketing. I am not, I don't love marketing. And not that I don't love pieces of it, but when I look at it overall, the whole realm of marketing, it just overwhelms me to the point that I get stuck. And so I thrive. I show up better when there's a thought partner there, when there's a person who can take my vision and go with it. And then I know that there's someone out there who's helping me with the process. So that way, the part where I do have to show up, I'm still excited. I'm not drained by it. So that for me actually was one of my first outsourced, if you will, like off my plate. But I think that because of that, I've become more excited about marketing again. I think that it really suffered when I was trying to own all of it and have my hands in it too much. So uh, I actually think when I think of my first hire, things that I delegated, that comes to mind for me first.
Yeah. Well, and I can speak to that because I do the I am the marketing
Yes.
here at Elevate. So I can speak to that. And I know that we have had times where we're brainstorming and collaborating on what we need to do. You're just like, just go with it and send it to me, and then we can, finesse it from there. And I thrive on that creativity side of marketing. Like, for instance, I was pulling weeds yesterday and I was like, ooh, this would be great content. So I recorded myself pulling weeds. Like, I don't know if you would necessarily do that because I don't know if that would be the first thing that came to your mind. But in my mind, I was like, oh, I need to record myself pulling weeds. Here's the caption that I think I want to have. This is everything that I think I want to do. And then I'll send it to you and you'll give me your feedback, your comments, and everything like that. But brains work in different ways, right? Like you said, zone of genius. Your zone of genius is not marketing. That is more my zone of genius. And so that's why it works well together, is because I can reach out to you for collaboration and feedback and still get the job done. And it's not added time onto your plate. You're not having to think about what content we're going to post or create the captions or do any of that. You get to see the final product. You get to say, yes, stamp of approval, you're ready to go. And then you get to stay in your consulting and coaching and doing everything that you need to do with clients without being bogged down by the marketing stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for me, I know that I enjoy the conversations, right? So when it comes to if you want me to show up in marketing where I get to have conversations with people, whether it's networking chats or podcast guesting, or even some of our marketing, I love being a part of. I just am not great at creating it.
Mm-hmm.
And for a long time, I'm a recovering perfectionist, so it's very hard for me to say I'm not good at something, but I'm sure I could be good at it. It just is not it doesn't spark joy. And I know that it probably would take me 10 times longer to create something because I'm not excited about it. And so it just allowing for us to have seen that you thrive there, it has now made marketing so much fun. I love talking about marketing with you because I can also have an idea and you're excited, you'll execute it, or
Mm-hmm.
you'll have an idea and then I review it and we have a good laugh. I feel it's being able to find this has like sparked the fun in it again. And I think that in general with delegation, that some people need to realize that there are parts of what you're trying to hold on to that are draining you. And if you find someone who geeks out on spreadsheets that you hate doing, or whatever it might be, I think that
Mm-hmm.
it will spark joy in the thing again for you by not needing to hold on to the whole piece of it anymore.
Right. And like you said, you're not completely removing yourself from the task. You're simply giving somebody else the reins to take this where they want to take it and then lighten your load at the same time. But then, like you said, it's going to spark joy again because now you're still a part of it. You still get to see what's happening, what's going on, but you're not the one that has to own it 100% of the time. And that's leadership right there, because you are giving somebody else the opportunity to thrive and to show their strengths. And that will in turn give you so much more from that team member in terms of that trust that you're building with them. Because by delegating something to somebody, you are saying, I trust you with this project, with this task, with this system. And then they're going to then turn that around, deliver a final product or make something more efficient, and then they're going to bring new ideas to the table. And like I said, that's leadership. Like, you are having somebody else thrive in their role, and that is so important in delegation, in business, and life. And it is what it is, right? Like, you want to build that trust with any team member you have, and that's where it starts.
Yeah, and I think exactly what you just said. I talk about it all the time. I absolutely love to see what comes out of the collaboration piece of delegation. So, for example, the what you just talked about, like how you were picking weeds and you had an idea of how it would be content. I would have never thought of that. And I love that. I love that I'm not the only one bringing ideas to the table, because then
Yeah.
you're only going to get my experiences, my box of thinking, right? So when you and I, or whoever else that I'm collaborating with on some other realm of something in the business, when you get people who you are empowering, when you start delegating to someone, you might just be delegating the execution. But when you get to the point where you're delegating the ownership of this process, of this department, whatever it is, you
Hmm.
start to see the I don't know, the up leveled version of what it would have been in the first place. So, for example, if it were to be, hey, we gotta create content twice a week, or it could be, I don't know, just any process. When you bring in a new frame of mind, sure, you give your idea, but when you say, I also want to hear yours, you may not go with either of those, but you're going to go with a version that marries the two of them together into something even better. So I think that people also need to, as much as we see the hesitations and the reasons how it couldn't go well, I think that delegation, there's a lot of ways it could go even better than you imagined. And I think people
Right.
just maybe need to have that as a reminder also.
Right. And I think we talked about it in the last episode, just having that open communication, because when you do delegate to somebody and then they bring a new idea, I always love to say, like, nothing is set in stone. Everything can always be changed, or we can pivot at any time if something is not working. So if you have that door open for communication, then they're going to bring you ideas. And then maybe you don't like a part of that, but maybe this one part of it, you're like, yes, that's what we've been looking for. That's what's been missing. I just didn't know what it was. And you found it. This is amazing. And then you can move forward from there. But you have to have the open door for communications to be able to accept those ideas and allow them to bring those suggestions to the table.
Yeah, absolutely. So, talking about what we should delegate, I would love to hear from you, just in your experience, what are the things that most definitely should be delegated?
There are a lot of them. So, this is going to be a short list. Just be prepared. This is not everything that you can delegate. That is a low level strategy or a low leverage task that you can delegate. But when you delegate these smaller things that maybe don't spark joy, or that are just a draining time suck on your productivity throughout the day, on your client calls, anything like that, you might find that the person you're delegating it to is either going to do it just as well as you did, or even better with just a bit of training and a little bit of guidance. I know we talked about it last episode, but the feedback, giving them clear and kind feedback. You might find that they're going to do it more efficiently, which is then going to save you time and money and be able to delegate more things.
Yeah. And I think that not only that, but finding someone who is, like I said earlier, geeking out on the stuff that you don't enjoy. Now you have the space and the energy to do the work that
Hmm.
really matters to you. So we hear it all the time that people say, well, I can do this. I can. Yeah, sure, you can. But what is it interrupting by switching over to that hat? So think about just the energy space of, they always say, what do they say with productivity? Like, it kills how much productivity by switching back and forth. So if you think about that, it's just such a brain drain. So I think just making sure that we're aware of that
Exactly.
as well.
And some of the tasks, like I said, this is a short list, very short list of what you can delegate. But some of those delegation ready tasks are going to be calendar management. With calendar management and with any task that you're delegating, you want to clearly set the expectations of how you want the task to look like at the end. You want to be clear on what are the necessary blocks you want on your calendar. What are the must-have meetings on your calendar? What's reoccurring? How much focus time do you want? How much family time do you want me to block on your calendar? How much personal time do you want me to block on your calendar? Because I know a lot of CEOs, I'm not a CEO, but myself included, I live and breathe off of my calendar. If it's not there, it's not happening. And we have missed things because I've forgotten to put it on the calendar. So if you are one of those people that lives and breathes off your calendar, then you need to have that in your calendar. You're like, guilty as charged. That's me. But if you're, yeah,
Yes. That's
If you're
me.
one of those people that lives and breathes off your calendar, you want to make sure that you have that expectation set with whoever is managing your calendar so that one, they're aware of it, and then they can hold boundaries on your calendar when they're scheduling for you. Somebody comes in and says, "Oh, I'd like to schedule an appointment with a call with Ashley at 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time." I'd be like, "Oh, I am so sorry. I hear that this might be an urgent call, but unfortunately, she's not available at that time. The earliest thing I have tomorrow during working hours is XYZ." And they will hold your boundary for you so that you don't get sucked into that, "Oh, it's just a 30-minute call. I'll throw it on the calendar." And then you're taking the call at the grocery store or at a baseball game over in the corner where you're trying to find the quietest spot so that you can take this business call. It's very important to set those expectations and then let somebody else hold those boundaries for you so that you don't fall into that trap. Another thing is travel booking. Like, this can be done by somebody else as long as they have all of the necessary information for travel. Now we're talking about your date of birth, the correct spelling of your name on your driver's license or on your passport, not your nickname, not what everybody calls you, but the correct spelling of all of that. Um, any details related to airlines that you like to fly on. Do you have rewards numbers for those airlines? Do you like the window, the aisle, or the dreaded middle seat? What do you like? Because I'm going to book your seat wherever you want me, wherever you tell me to book it, that's where I'm going to book it. But you want to have all of that information passed on to the person who's going to be doing travel booking so that they can then successfully execute that. And then they just send you the confirmation information, put it on your calendar, and you're set to go. All you have to do is show up at the airport. They can even help you check in 24 hours beforehand if you need them to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we're talking from what an EA can help with. So this list is really infinite when you look at every aspect of your business. But given that we are speaking from our EA experience, a couple other things that come to mind for me is inbox management is one of our number one things that clients come to us about. And I hear all the time that they have become allergic to their emails because when they open it, it's too overwhelming. They can't tell what needs to be responded to. They have missed
Mm-hmm.
business. They have dropped the ball on countless things. And so I think inbox cleanup and organization is really huge for us. And then once we come up with that system, we can also help just make sure that, on a daily basis, it is super clear what needs to be responded to by you. So that way, when you come to your inbox, it's clear and you're not feeling overwhelmed and all of that in the small amount of time that you have to probably check your email. Something else that I always talk with clients about, and this is something that I don't think a lot of people realize that is a great thing to delegate. So something that I talk about is, are they tracking metrics for their business, for example? And a lot of the times they're not because of the time that it takes to enter in that data, to find the data, to enter it in, and all of that. But going back to what a business owner should be doing, what an executive should be doing is strategic level decisions. And in order to do that, you need the data, the information, but you're not collecting it because you don't have the time. So that is a really great thing to delegate to an executive assistant. And when we can put things into a spreadsheet, we are a team who loves a good spreadsheet. And so we can put it all together. That way, the only time you are spending on this data collection is actually just seeing it and making decisions from it. Well, we love spreadsheets here. I know you can talk about
Yes.
it forever because I have seen the spreadsheets that you share with us that you've created, and we are a team that appreciates a sharing of a good spreadsheet.
Yes,
So,
absolutely. And not just the fact that you can have somebody support you by tracking your metrics. Let's say you have shareholders that you need to present data to. Now you have somebody who is pulling all of that data for you. You are not scrambling at the last minute to put together a slide deck. They can help you with that. I told you it's a very long list, and here we go. We're just going to start on this long list. But you can have that data moved into a slide deck so that your presentation can then be given to your shareholders. Or let's say you're a department lead and you need to present to the CEO. Now you have all of that information that you can take to this presentation, and it's buttoned up, ready to go. And all you have to do is review it and then present it because you have somebody else who is doing the, not the hard work, but the legwork to log into Google Analytics, to log into your newsletter platform to grab all of those analytics. So It's an infinite list, like we said. But back to spreadsheets. Yes. I love an organized, color coded, drop downs, borders, alternating colors. If those things bring me so much joy, and I probably spend way too much time perfecting them because I am a recovering perfectionist as well, but only when it comes to spreadsheets at this point. And I love to have them just buttoned up. But another thing that you can utilize an EA, like Ashley said, we're primarily working with EA delegated tasks at this time. But another thing that you can delegate off to an EA is going to be routine customer replies. However, disclaimer, you want to make sure that you do not want your support person responding from a non-company branded email, because the likelihood that that email is either going to go to spam or get completely ignored is 100% higher if it was on a company branded email. You also do not want to have them responding as you, as the business owner, as the department lead, as the manager. We had said earlier, there are certain things that need to stay in your voice. It's your voice, it's your brand voice, it's you. So it needs to come from you. However, your support person can reply on your behalf. And so what you could work on is creating canned responses, and then they can make sure that they are using those canned responses that are in your brand voice, that support your mission, vision, and values, that are all aligned with what your business is, so that you don't have a situation come up that could potentially cost you clients, money, having to do a hire again. All of those things could potentially come up if a situation goes awry because somebody is responding as you in a company email.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the times, too, what I try to tell clients is sometimes when they're wanting us to respond as them, one thing that they're not realizing is we are missing so much context. So we might be able to read that email thread, but you probably talked to that person on the phone or had a meeting with them that we were not at, and we're just not in your brain. And so there is just so much context missing that there's no way we could respond correctly to that. Something that I'm going to give you all a little tip here that I like to tell clients when it comes to this exact delegated thing. When you are wanting us to respond to, say, frequently asked questions, things that you have found yourself answering the same thing over and over in different one way, shape, or form, create a tag in your email inbox that just says FAQ and start saving those. And whether it is you want to refer back to those, so you know how, sometimes we respond to certain emails and we're like, ooh, I like how I handled that. I want to remember for next time. So instead of you needing to go try to remember who you had that conversation with last time, was it Bob? Was it Joe? I don't remember. You tag it with FAQ, you will know where to go find it. And so will someone you're maybe delegating this process to. So, and then they can also, like you said, create canned responses, templated responses to those questions for future. So I think all of these ideas are great notes to make. One more filter that I wanted everybody to note to themselves as far as what should I delegate, if it is repeatable, if it is teachable, and if it does not have to be done by you in your zone of genius, delegate it.
Absolutely. Now, here's one of our favorite delegation tools, the 4Ds. Now, Ashley, I know that we talk about this a lot with our clients, and we ourselves live by it here with some of the tasks that we have where we have other team members helping us with them. So please explain to the listeners what the 4Ds are.
Yes. So it's a decision-making framework that helps you sort your tasks clearly and quickly. So here they are. We've got do, D-O. So if it's urgent and important, just do it now. Don't delay it. The next one is delay. So if it's important but not urgent, schedule it. So put it on your to-do list. Whatever it is your trust. I'm a big fan. If it's an email, snooze it to my inbox tomorrow when I know that I have dedicated working time, whatever that might be. So the delay is make sure that it comes back to you and you have dedicated time to do it later. Delegate it. If it's not in your zone of genius, if it does not have to be done by you, hand it off immediately. Delete. So maybe it is not aligned anymore, no longer relevant, just let it go. At Elevate, we do strategic planning for the year, and then we meet monthly and quarterly to reevaluate. How did last month or quarter go? and what's the plan for next month or quarter. There has been plenty of times where at whatever point it is, future us thinking into the future that in Q3 this is what we're going to work on, and then we go to plan for Q3 and we're like, oh no, this is now a parking lot item, this is no longer important, it is not aligned. That's okay, we can just move it there. It doesn't have to be done now. Things, you have to be willing to pivot. So do delegate, do, delay, delegate, and delete. It's hard to remember all four. So that's really important. Write it on a sticky note. Try to remember that and just make sure that you are taking one of those four actions with everything that is on your
absolutely.
plate.
And you can do this at the beginning of every week. You can do it at the beginning of every month. You could do it at the beginning of every quarter, and you can just keep yourself accountable. And this also gives you instant clarity on what you need to do that week, what you need to do that month. Are things going to come up throughout the week and the month? Absolutely. And that's why it's okay. And you have to remember it's okay that things have to pivot from time to time. And that's where you put that delay. That's where you snooze that email and you get to it the next day. Or you schedule send that email so that it hits their inbox the next day so they're not responding immediately. But just block that time and be intentional with that calendar block that you have to work through the 4Ds and then move forward from there. So I want to go a little bit deeper on this. Let's talk about actual energy, right? Not just the time that CEOs are spending, but the energy, because delegation is not just about time. It's about giving energy, whether that's mind, whether that is you want to go work out and you need your body's energy, whether you want to spend energy with your kids and you want to go run around at the park for 2 hours after work. It's all about protecting your capacity, right? So give me some examples of what a quick energy audit would look like.
Yeah, so I think that we all have to remember that decision fatigue is real, and there's only a certain amount of hours in a day, and how we are spending that with things, whether it is at work or personal, is just really important. And that's something that I've had to realize in my even adulthood, parenthood, and also business ownerhood. And I think that it's very important for us to be aware of our energy. And so in an energy audit, I would love to encourage everybody to list out your tasks and ask yourself, does this energize me or drain me? So again, going back to, does this spark joy or not? And does it require my voice or expertise or not? So does it have to be done by me? And could someone else potentially do this, let's say even to 80% capacity, with the right training and support? So if the answers are yes, then I think that's something to seriously consider getting off your plate, or at least creating a visual of where then you should be spending your time. And if you were to spend your work days doing these things, what does that leave left?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and this is something you can also delegate to whoever your support person is to make a crazy cool spreadsheet for you to track this in. And then you could decide which of the 3 buckets these are going to go in, right? So does it spark joy or does it not? If the answer is yes, then that's something you're going to keep doing. If it does, but you don't need the expertise on it, then you're going to delegate that or you're going to automate it, right? And then if it is something that you just don't want to do anymore or it doesn't align with your business, you're going to either drop it or you're going to simplify it. So those are the 3 buckets. After you answer the 3 clarity questions, you're either going to keep doing it, you're going to delegate it or automate it, or you're going to drop or simplify it. So when I say drop or simplify, that could be that you have 2 platforms that both do the same thing. Drop one of them and choose the simpler one. Make your life easier. If it's more efficient and simpler and it costs you less money, go with that one and drop the other one. And just look at every single task that you have. It feels like it takes a lot of time at first, but once you have that clarity on what you actually need to be doing and what you can delegate, it's a weight off your shoulders. And as a business owner, you need that so that you can continue to grow and have that creative mind space to continue to grow the business.
Absolutely. I think that what I want our listeners to take home from this is, among other things, but remember that your energy is your leadership currency. You need to protect it like it matters, because it does. You only have so much of it. And every day also too, For me, I know that something that I have to be aware of is the fact that my 100% today is not the same as my 100% tomorrow, right? So we also not only have to recognize our time and energy as being limited, but that it also might not look the same every day. So overloading yourself based on your 1,000% days does not set you up for success on the days where maybe it's just not all there, and that's okay. Just make sure that you are protecting your time and energy as much as possible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's such a good takeaway to end the episode with. I love that. So, well, everybody, thanks for tuning in to our Delegation Shift series. If this episode gave you one step closer to freedom, hit follow and share it with your fellow business owners. And don't forget to grab our free workbook and tools in the link in the show notes. And remember, you've got this.